Hey, you are listening to Oh Crap Parenting with me, your host, Jamie Glowacki. This is a podcast for conscious parents who drop the F-bomb a lot. Today, I wanted to keep expounding on this topic that we seem to keep getting these threads, right? And it has to do with, I think it started with the kids who are like verbally berating themselves and or like having meltdowns when they can't quite get something right or do something. Then we went into like Peter Gray, my episode with Peter Gray, and how, you know, helicopter parenting and snowplow parenting are getting in our way. And then I went on to talk about the locus of control and internal versus external locus of control. And it seems like this is like kind of a bigger topic than I even realized, because I keep getting questions that have something to do with this flavor. So I wanted to bring that up. But first, I wanted to update you on what a dumbass I am. So, I mean, I'm a dumbass in a lot of areas, don't get me wrong. But in 2020, like a month after the lockdown started, I was running trails in the woods and I tripped over a root and I smashed the heel of my palm into a root. And it hurt like Hades. And I could move everything though, right? Like I could move my fingers, I could move my thumbs. So I was like, I just got a bad bruise or something. Throughout the years, it's kind of, there's certain things that can aggravate it. Like especially if I do volume, if I'm lifting weights, kettlebells, flinging kettlebells around, or too many push-ups, like a volume of push-ups or push-up variations. But it's always been like, it gets a little inflamed, irritated. I put some K-tape on it. I rested a little. You know, it's not been a major thing in my life. Well, recently, my hand started to swell a little and my arm was like kind of getting shooting pain. And then I stopped being able to like pick things up. Like my thumb wasn't really working that well, you know? So, but when I shoot my bow, I shoot a compound bow. Those are the bows with like the cables on them. And I have a release. So that goes around your wrist and you clip it to the string. And what it is, it allows you to shoot more poundage into the arrow. So you have a heavier draw, but you can't do that with your fingers. So it has a mechanical thing so that you can get a heavier draw. And that felt so good on my wrist because it was almost like a traction, right? This like wristband pulled against that and it felt like traction. So I went to my chiropractor because I was like, well, it feels like traction. It feels like maybe traction will help. It feels like it's kind of jammed. So she's like, all right. She's like, dude, this is kind of swollen. So I think we should get an x-ray before I dick around with it too much. So I was like, all right. So go get an x-ray. I have a fracture. Since 2020, almost 4 years now, I've been walking around with a fractured wrist. Who does that? I've been doing my Spartan races. I've been walking on my hands. I've been doing all kinds of pull-ups and push-ups, and I have a fractured wrist. So anyway, I just thought you would appreciate my dumb assery. And clearly, I need to learn to experience pain in a different manner because my regular alarm systems aren't going off. So anyway, the problem now, if anybody's familiar, it's an distal ulnar styloid fracture. So they can't do anything about it, but I've got degenerative tissue in between my carpal bones. And so, yeah, so it's kind of just like managing arthritis at this point. So I am resting. I can pull, but I can't push. So at least I can climb rope. I might have to kiss my handstands goodbye, but you know, I'll probably figure out how to do a one arm consistently. And yeah. And then the x-ray report after that, it said the rest of my soft tissue was unremarkable. And I kind of took offense to that. I was like, what do you mean my soft tissue is unremarkable? It's very remarkable. I work hard at it. All right, let's step into this, furthering the conversation about kind of kids' autonomy. I think that's the overarching theme, right? Kids' autonomy. How can we help them be more autonomous, have that internal locus of control? Because we are in this really external system, right? There's so many outward rewards. And again, that's why like I'm so against rewarding kids for everyday behavior, right? Because we end up with this external locus, right? It's like we're pleasing somebody else for an external thing. And so we really want that inner motivation, that inner strength, right? So a mama in the Oh Crap Cafe, which, oh my God, did you guys, I don't even know. I think I've mentioned it, but yes, we are finally raring to go on the Oh Crap Cafe. So that is my parenting community. It's not potty training. It's just for parenting. I used to be on Patreon where you could get the podcast and we could have dialogue there. What was happening though is Patreon functioned much like Substack or even a blog where is like I, the person in charge, post something and then you all can comment. So it doesn't actually foster dialogue. It's more like I give my proclamation and then we discuss. And I really, really, really spent almost a year and a half looking for the right platform that's off of social media, but functions much like a Facebook group, because I think that's something we're all familiar with. But I also love the idea of everybody being able to post equally so that we can get dialogue going and create a digital village, which is not a, an in-person village is of course way more sustaining, is much more sustaining. Is that the right word? Comforting. We want to have an in-person village too, but the digital community can work too. And this will, I promise I'm in there and I will not allow any inviting or nonsense that you find on typical mom, especially Facebook groups. But yeah, so we've been I do live calls every other week, which is super fun, and then sort of answer questions throughout the week. So if you want to join us there, you can, I'll put a link in the show notes, or you can always go to my website, jamieglowacki.com, and it's her the Oh Crap Cafe. So anyway, this mama had put that she was having a hard time with a lot of mom guilt. And her little one had her birthday party. And, by the sounds of it, it sounds like the child is very, very well potty trained. This isn't a potty training scenario. It has to do with pee, but it's not a potty training scenario. So she, during the party, the mom could see the girl looked kind of antsy, kind of miserable, kind of not having, she wasn't being herself. And the mom thought, I bet she's got to pee. So mom offered many times. And the little one was like, nope. And so mom was like, all right, fine. So then finally, a couple hours later, the dad had the little one pee. And she was fine. She clearly had to pee. She was miserable because she was holding it. And the mom was like, I know that she's got to experience this on her own. Like, this is her body, her bodily sensations. But I can't help but feel guilty that if I had pushed the issue, she would have had a better time. And so I just love this question because on the surface, it seems like such a minor thing. Like when I first read it, and Mama, you know who you are, and I'm absolutely not judging you or mocking you in any way. But at first I was like, oh, just don't feel guilty about that. That's such a minor thing, right? Especially like we have many opportunities throughout our parenting to feel guilt, and it's probably justified, right? But it stuck with me in my head and in my heart because I was like, oh, this is the thing. This is where we get into trouble because we try to finagle and manage our kids' reactions and things that happen to them, their emotional state, right? And this is a natural progression because we come out of the toddler years where there's like, we don't want to appease tantrums, but Lord, they are ticking time bombs, right? You're like, what's going to make them go off the chain this time? Is it going to be how I cut the freaking sandwich or get the wrong color cup or peel the banana? Don't peel the banana. Take the cover off the yogurt. Don't take the cover off the yogurt, right? Anything can set them off. So we are kind of walking on eggshells, right? And then as they start to grow, we somehow, and this is a generation of parents, this isn't this mama, this is happening a lot, is we do become those snowplow parents. And the reason I wanted to bring this specific example is another mom in the Oh Crap Cafe had chimed in asking about her, the fact that she thinks she's not a helicopter mom and she thinks she's not a snowplow mom, but her child really is, never sort of wants to take things on for himself. And so she was kind of curious, like, have I run into that or what could be behind that? And I think, I'm not certain, a lot of these case scenarios, like we'd have to go through and find with a fine tooth comb and see, what dialogues are like, what interactions are like within the home. But in general, I would say there's many, many parents who feel like they're not a snowplow parent, right? And remember, snowplow parents are the ones who clear things out of the way so there are no obstacles. But thinking you can continually manage your children's happiness is a version of snowplow parenting that is a little more silent, a little more innocuous. Obviously there are big episodes of snowplow parenting. I think it really came into the mainstream, that word, when that college scandal, who was it? There was a movie star that was involved in it, but basically they got their kids into Harvard and Yale, like by hiring other people's profiles, and it was bizarre. But basically these kids did nothing to earn their place, which I know we shouldn't be surprised, right? Like there's a sector of the world that just operates on their own terms, right? But we started hearing that more and more, and you see that in I see horrific things, like kids who they're inviting, their parents go on job interviews with them or for them, or call a job to quit for their child. Like, it's bizarre, the levels that people are going. But I think, like all things, this is a practice in our parenting, right? This is a practice that we need to start much younger. And so it dovetails for me with this mom and the guilt she feels, because I think her experience is common. Again, not faulting her, not judging her, not mocking her in any way, shape, or form. I think it's common for us to feel like, oh, if I'd just been available for them, their feelings wouldn't have gotten hurt. Or, oh gosh, if I hadn't turned my back, or if I had done this different. And it's really easy to get caught in the mom guilt, but it's really easy to also get caught in the trap that we have control over their feelings, or that it would be good for us to manage their emotional state, right? And some of this might be keeping your kid quiet, right? And it might be that for whatever reason in life, you have to, like, imagine, I don't know, maybe you work from home because your kid's sick and you have to keep them on a program all day to keep them quiet because you have to work, right? There are times where we have to appease their emotional state because of situations, maybe give them candy when they're in church so they're not screaming or something, there's tons of examples, I'm sure. But we don't want to get caught in that trap long term, because this can become a habit, and it can become a habit very quickly on our part as the parents, but it can become a habit of the child in accepting this, which is like, I don't want any discomfort. I was just listening to a podcast last night. They're making a movie of the book, The Coddling of the American Mind, which is a fantastic book. And listening to the guy who directed the movie, I've read the book and I'm really excited for the movie because I think the premises are fantastic for our generation of parenting, because we don't even realize what we're doing. So a lot of this was about the idea of keeping our children too safe, and not the physical safety, not safety, like not risk taking or, letting them go off in the neighborhood to play by themselves or things like that, but the emotional safety, really keeping them too emotionally coddled. And of course, when I say these things, and I think you guys know me well enough, when I say emotionally safe, I mean, when I say we're doing too much to keep them emotionally safe, I don't mean in the abusive kind of not safe, right? Like we do keep our kids emotionally safe, age appropriate reading materials and viewing on television, but we are keeping them too emotionally safe by coddling their emotions and making the world softer around them and keeping them in a bubble of sorts, right? So maybe bubble parenting, right? But we're clearing everything. Again, that snowplow, we're clearing a path so that they're not scathed by anything. The problem is they're always going to be scathed, or they're going to be rendered impossible. They're going to be rendered incompetent. And what we're finding right now is we're finding college students who are on the verge of a mental breakdown because they've been kept too emotionally safe, and their mind is being like triggered, activated, on fire because they think they shouldn't have any adverse reactions to anything. They believe their emotional state should be always one of happiness and well-being. And if it's not, then it's like a physical danger to them. They feel like it's a physical danger. And that's kind of wacky. And so when we start looking at, like depression and anxiety in kids. And again, I can't believe that suicide is coming up on the number one cause of death for 9 to 15-year-olds. This is insane. So even though it's not my kid, and even though it may not be your kid and your kids are little, so we don't necessarily have to think of it so concretely for your kids, but this is coming up for them, right? And so I've grown so fascinated with this subject, and I'm going down many, many different paths and rabbit holes because everybody's blaming it on social media. And I do think social media has something. I think social media has its part for sure. And like I've discussed before, I think a lot of it is academic pressure, but I also think that there's a way social media is affecting it in a more nefarious way than we think. I don't think it's just like, oh, I see my friends doing X, Y, and Z. Oh, I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses. I think it's real easy to get sucked into an echo chamber. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I know when I'm on Instagram, they've like changed the algorithm. So if you even pause on a video, it just almost immediately shows you more of the same, which is odd because sometimes I pause to like be like, what the hell is this person? This person's nuts. Like, I don't want more of that shit, right? And so it just is, these are algorithms that are keeping us all in echo chambers. So and we have to be aware of that with our kids because these echo chambers can make them feel like the world is like scarier than it is, or that people are, meaner than they are, or things that people say are more detrimental or more hurtful than the person actually means. It's a spooky kind of place right now. Anyway, I digress because part of that is this: when kids don't have autonomy, when they don't experience adversity and get over it. And thus far on this podcast, I think we've spent a lot of time talking about the physical risk taking, right? Because that's what I see in toddlers is this abnormal safety of not letting kids play and, get hurt and realize like, oh, that got me hurt. Okay, I'm not going to do that. But the same goes for our mental state. And if we want to raise a mentally strong generation, we have to expose them to some of those things. But more importantly, we have to give them I don't even think it's giving them the tools except staying out of their way, right? Like even with this mama and the little one peeing is like, she did the right thing. She offered. The kid said no. The kid said no. The kid said no. Did the kid lose 2 hours to being uncomfortable? 100%. Maybe next time she'll pee the first time, right? And so that kid probably learned a lesson than if the mom had forced it right away or forced it and gotten a power struggle right away, right? So a lot of these autonomous things, we eliminate some power struggle because we're like, it's on you, dude. You've got a body, you can take care of your body, but we're also giving them that message, right? Like you can take care of yourself. And when kids learn that way, the lesson goes in. Otherwise, you're doing a surface level lesson that they're never going to get. They're never going to own as their own. And I see this a lot in parenting. Like I'd say the biggest thing is I don't understand. He's a big kid. I don't understand. He can do this or, he never, wants to help around the house. He never wants to pick up his toys, or she doesn't want to, initiate going to the potty. And then these kids are still in cribs. Right? That's insane. You can't expect a kid to be like acting like a big kid when you're keeping them in a crib. Right? So I think we have these paradoxes going on in our parenting. But where was I going with that? Anyway, I think it's really about staying out of their way so that they can learn these lessons of, okay, I did that. I'm in control of my body. I am in control. I know whenever I start talking about yesteryear, I sound like a boomer, and you guys probably do too. But do you remember the times you rode your bike away from your parent? Do you remember the times that you figured something out for yourself and what that does to your self-esteem, what that does to you as a person, right? Your confidence in life has everything to do with what you've been through and how you've handled it. I got a lot of confidence for being a short little loudmouth. But you know what? I've been through a lot. So I have confidence in myself. I always have confidence that I can do it. I am not the most physically skilled person on the planet, but geez, I think I am. So I think it's really, really, at the end, I'll tell you a story about how physically not capable I am. but I have a lot of confidence because I've gotten through things. I do hard races, right? I had a hard childhood. I went through therapy. I have overcome so many things that I know I can do anything. So I'm never daunted by tasks because I'm like, I'll figure it out. I always did. I always have. I'll figure it out. So we want to give that gift to your kid, but we can't give that to them. Again, the only thing we can do is stay out of their way. So when we think, am I a helicopter parent, right? Like, as I had said in that episode, I am almost irritated when I hear more and more parents talking about a flaw in them that makes them reactive to their kid. And they think it's the kid that needs to change their behavior, right? I talked about that before. Like, it's not cute to say I'm a perfectionist. I'm type A. I have a quick temper. I get frustrated easily. Those aren't personality traits. Those need to be addressed because you will pass them onto your kid. And what more and more parents are like, my kid's doing this. And I'm like, no, it's you. It's me. And so we stay out of their way and we let them experience those bad feelings, and we don't try to cover them. We don't try to fade them. We don't try to fix them, because when we do, we take away that chance for them to work through that emotional stuff themselves and then have the feeling like, oh my God, I did this, And there have been a couple of times when Pascal's got his heart broken. He was in love. It was teenage love, but he was in love, and the other adults acted badly and his heart was broken. And I just knew it was broken. And there were so many things I wanted to say in that moment. So many things that would have been trite, that would have been stupid to him, that would have been cliche, and that had no bearing on his pain. And so there's been a couple of other times where I've been like, shut up, Jamie, shut up. And I've managed to, and it's such a good feeling when you can hold that space for your kid while they go through the gamut of emotions. And let me tell you something. I think you guys, I've said this numerous times, that I think the toddler years are the hardest. I just think they are the hardest, and everybody will tell you the teenage, and I just don't think so, but I like my kids, so we'll see. I see a lot of people not liking their kids. I really do. So I think, what was I going to say? Nobody prepares you. Nobody prepares you for your kid's heart being crushed the first time. That took me out. So, but recognizing that there was nothing I could do, his life was going to be irrevocably changed by this. His personality probably veered to the left a little bit, or right, just kind of went off course a little bit with this. And I think there was just nothing I could say. There was nothing I could say but hold the pain with him. And so that's when we see our kids, I invite you to start practicing that, even though your kids are very, very little, because it is a practice that we have to kind of get out of from being. We do manage their emotional states a lot when they're younger, right? Because when they think about it, their first year, they cry, and you're like, you have to manage their emotional state. They're crying for something. And it's not that you just want them to start crying. You want them to not be in pain, and their needs to be met, right? And so it's a natural flow that we want to manage their emotional state, but we can't. And so, that's another way that I think we are snow plowing or helicoptering. So just another thing to check in on. I don't know that that's applicable to anybody, including the mama who said she doesn't think she's snow plowing, but it could be. It could be one of the facets. All right, so I will close out for now, but I can tell you a really funny story. So I think I'm so physically skilled, except when I'm not. I'm epically not. And so, there's been snow on the ground. It finally just melted, but I take Matt for a walk in the woods. And of course, I always have to pee. So I'm very skilled at peeing outside. But I like to pee on a hill, right? Going kind of facing downwards to let gravity work for you. And so I have all my gear on, and I pull my pants down, and of course I've got my thumbs like stuck in my pants as I squat, right? Well, I lose my footing, and I can't get my thumbs out of my pants soon enough. So like I'm in a squat going downhill in snow, like up, maybe up to like mid shin snow. So I just go forward, and I don't tumble down the hill because I get stuck, because my face is just like right in the snow. And I kind of can't move because my fingers are stuck in my pants. I didn't get pee on my face or anything. But like I sat there like dying laughing, inhaling snow, because I know I look like the biggest dumbass ever. Like, luckily I'm in the middle of the woods, and I was like, man, for somebody who can like walk like a really long distance on our hands, like I can't manage to squat and pee in the woods. All right. There's always too much information from Jamie, right? As always, you guys, I appreciate you listening and rock on. And again, if you want to join the Oh Crap Cafe, I'll leave it in the show notes, or you can go to my website and see it on the tab. That's jamieglowacki.com. Have a beautiful day, as always, and rock on. Okay, bye, everyone. Just a reminder, if you need additional resources, I have Oh Crap Potty Training. I have Oh Crap, I Have a Toddler. Those books are available everywhere you want to find a book. You can also go to my website, jamieglowacki.com, where you can book private sessions with me, buy any of my courses. Those are really geared towards potty training help. And also, I'm on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook anymore, and I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, jamie.glowacki, and I do a lot of lives and usually posting a lot of good information. So those are extra resources for you. And as always, rock on. Have an awesome day.